Hey there, Proteus Doom here. People have asked me in the past how I've made some of my features and hazards in my second invasion mod, and explaining how I made something that likely took me a week of full-time coding is understandably difficult, so I figured I'd give a shot at making a video about it instead. And so here we are. This is how I made Geysers for my second invasion mod. Something else people have asked me is where I get the ideas for some of my features from. First thing I have to explain is that I worked on this Urdak level for 6 frickin' months. Way too long, I know, but there you go. These geezers have gone through 2 or 3 different designs over that time, and they only gained a gameplay function at the very end, this jump pad effect. They were originally just going to be something pretty in the environment. Like, I wanted this because one of the main themes of Urdak is that it's an alien world, very sort of otherworldly and unlike any other place in Doom Eternal up until this point in the game. So I wanted to add to the otherworldliness of it. As for how I got the idea of the geezers themselves, I took a lot of inspiration from top strange natural phenomena lists from Google. Like, there's all kinds of weird and fantastical stuff you can find there. So first, let's break down the different stages of the geyser in the game. This is the dormant phase. I added in smoke coming out of the geyser, coming out around it as well. You can see there's an orange light coming out of the geyser too. I decided on this to make it look like it's resting, that it's kind of organic, naturally occurring in the environment maybe, and that it's hot and maybe dangerous, this kind of thing. You can also see that I added in moss on the floor, again to make it look like it's naturally occurring. And the model of the geyser itself is actually an upside down tree from the Halt, as you can see here. So yeah, every geyser in the level is like that. There's a whole tree underground. There's a kind of dormant sound as well, which you probably won't hear because the geysers are so noisy themselves, but here it is. Next up we have the charging up warning stage. You can kind of see a bit of it here. Some electric effects coming out, a brighter glow of the light, that kind of thing. It's not that much to speak of, but it's supposed to give the player an idea from a distance that it's about to go off anyway. Then it explodes, then you got the beam shooting up, you got the arrows to indicate that it's like a jump pad, the water splashy effects and all this kind of thing, and then it turns off. The geyser particle effect actually comes from the World Spear torch cutscene that you see here. There it is. But it is a customized particle effect because you can see here it's a bit stripped away and it is considerably shorter as well. To do that, I copied the particle effect decal file and then edited it. And this is what that looks like. You can see this particle effect decal file has 12 parts to it, basically. I figured out what each part does, mostly. And the way you do that is simply by trial and error, really. Like, something I do is I disable the item and then try reloading it and see what changes in the game. And then that can tell you. So like item 0 is the splashy part at the base of the beam, and the first item is one of the beams, and I changed something here where acceleration, it was 75, I changed it to 300, and well, as per my notes, this has got something to do with the height. And so now we can finally go through the code itself. I'm going to go through one of these geysers entity by entity. So first of all, we have the model of the geyser itself. Like I said, it's an upside down tree from the Halt level, and so there you have it there. Then we have another 2 models, I think, yep, which is the floor. It's basically the moss that you see. So there's 2 of them. Then there's a particle effect, which is one of the smokes. That's the smoke coming out of the geyser. And then there's another one, again coming out of the geyser. For some reason I had 2. And another one which is coming out of the base. That's like the ring smoke, misty kind of effect that you see. Then there's also the ambient light. So it's just like the orange normal glow on the geyser. There's also a spotlight coming out of the geyser, which makes it a lot more visible from a distance and looks pretty cool if you can get it to look right. But these things are a right pain in the ass to make, because it's not just as simple as just saying make the spotlight point up. You got to fiddle around with the orientation. Then you got this stuff as well, which I hardly understand. Anyway, I managed to make it point up and it looks alright, I think. Now we got the timeline, which is like the timed instructions for actually firing the geyser. So like in the game there's a trigger. Yeah, so in the game there's a trigger, like a proximity trigger at a specific position, and it's really large to cover the entire area. So basically if the player is in the area of this trigger, it'll then set off the geyser. It activates that timeline. Where it is. There it is. Yeah. So what does this do? Well, first of all, it loads this target relay of effects, the electric effects. So there's 2 electric particle emitters. It also changes the light of the geyser. It makes it a lot brighter. And there's an electric kind of sound coming out as well. Then a half a second after that, it activates this other target relay, which does the explosion effect, also does the watery splashy particle effects, sets off the beam effect, and a sound, 2 sounds, the jump pad particle effect, and also starts a mover. What does the mover do? Well, it's bound to some things. It's first bound to a hurt trigger, which of course hurts the player. And this hurt trigger is very tall, as you can see here. These are the dimensions. It's tall and narrow. You got X and Y, pretty small values, and then Z is massive. And it also starts below ground, underneath the geyser. Also attached to the mover is a bounce pad. These are like the jump pads in the game, except that I take out the effect when you use them and the sound when you use them, so they're silent basically. This is also very tall and narrow, and it's underground too. So basically what happens when the mover is activated is that it goes up. It shoots up with the beam, and when it starts moving it enables the hurt trigger and enables the bounce trigger, so that pushes the player up and hurts them at the same time. After 5 seconds it then goes back down again really quickly and disables the hurt trigger and the bounce trigger. So that's the fire. Going back to the timeline then, and the rest of the timeline is turning off the effects. So it turns off the beam, the splashy effects, there's a sound for the geyser ending, which sounds like a toilet overflowing or something. It's pretty gross, but I love it. Turns off the lights, the electro effects, the jump pad effect, and that's it. And that's it. That's how the Geysers work in Second Invasion.